If you like traditional quilt blocks, this is a really fun one to make. Today we're making the classic Jacob's Ladder quilt block using 2 blue fabrics on a white background, and I'll walk you through an easy strip piecing method to create 4 patch units, and then we'll make some half square triangles. All of these come together into a block that finishes about 12.5 inches. That is perfect for quilts, table runners, and more. So let's get started. And just to let you know, I'll have links below in the description to some of the tools and things that I use to make these and other quilting projects. Okay, so to get started, you'll need some fabric. I'm using this fat quarter from a fat quarter bundle that I got from Walmart. Let's see, I'll show you that. It's fat quarter bundle. It's got florals and stuff in it. And I really like this blue, so I'm going to use this, and I'm going to accent it with this darker blue. And we're going to use some white for our background. I believe I got this one from Walmart too, but this is from some leftover scraps. And so you can use really any colors that you want, but we're going to make some 2.5 inch strips. So I'm cutting it on a fat quarter. It's going to be about 2.5 by 21 inches. Okay. And so you'll need, I think, at least 2 strips off of a fat quarter bundle. Off of a fat quarter. Just going to unfold this. And you can iron this up first too. I'll do that off camera. And then I'm going to cut these into strips, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I've cut all my strips, and I cut my 5-inch squares. Now, you can use 2.5 inch strips for this, pre-cuts, and 5-inch squares and pre-cuts if you want. It's very versatile, or you can cut it from yardage or fat quarters like I did. Okay, so I'm going ahead and paired these up. I'm going to do the lighter one with the white, the dark one with the white, and then I've got the dark and the light together. So I'm going to make 2 variations so you can see the different ways that you can combine the colors in order to make this block. Okay, so now I'm going to take this to the machine. I'm going to sew these strips together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance down one side. And I'm going to do it to all 3 of these. And then we'll cut them into segments, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I've sewn all of my strips together, and now we're going to cut them into segments. So to cut them, we're going to cut them at 2.5 inches. And you just want to cut the little segments like this. Okay, and then you're going to put them together opposite sides, but right sides facing, just like this. And you can stick a pin in here to hold it, or a clip. You just want to make sure that you're nesting your seams opposite of each other. And then you'll sew a 1/4 inch this way, and that will give you your 4 patch. And the 4 patches are going to measure out to be 4.5 inches once you've sewn everything together. You will need 5 of these 4 patches for one block. Okay, so I'm going to do that with all of these, and then we're going to go on to the half square triangles. Okay, so I've sewn all of my 4 patches together. And I just want to show you that on the back of them, when I went to iron them, I ironed the seam that I sewed the 2 sides together open, so that you won't have all this bulk, right there in the middle, and it makes it look nice and even and flat. And so, like this, I did that with all of these. Okay, so to make our half square triangles, you're going to put your lighter fabric on top of your darker fabric, right sides together. And then we're going to draw a line from this corner to this corner. And you can use a water-soluble marker if you need to, or a pencil. And I just use one of my mechanical pencils. And it's the lead that is the 0.9, because it's a thicker lead. And that way it won't break on you. So I'll just draw my line. And then I'll take this to the machine, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam on each side of this line. And I've already done a few, so I can show you. Once you have it sewn, then you'll just take your scissors, or you can use a rotary cutter. I'll just take my scissors, and I'll cut it down the middle on that line that you drew. Okay, and then I'm just going to finger press this to the darker side, and that will give you your half square triangle. And now you can trim it down to 4.5-inch square. That way it will match up with your 4.5-inch 4 patches. Okay, so now that we've sewn our 4 patches in our half square triangles, we can start to lay them all out into the different patterns. And we're going to start with a 4 patch, and then the half square triangle, and another 4 patch. And then we're going to put the half square triangle and then the 4 patch. Let's see. And this will give you the blue as the dominant color here, the dark blue, and the lighter floral blue as your background. Now you can switch this up and turn them around and do the opposite if you want to do that. But I also have set these aside, where I've got the blue with just the white background, and so you'll just do the same thing when you lay them out. Okay, so I've sewn up each of our blocks, and now you can see the different color variations. If you do it with just the solid dark blue, or the solid light blue, or both of them together. And then with just these 3 blocks, you could make a table runner, or you can just make more and make an entire quilt. And you can arrange these blocks in different patterns for your quilt, like putting them together like this, making a zigzag. And here's an example of a quilt that I made for my nephew a few years ago. And you can see how I arranged them. And it also makes a secondary block when you put the corners together in that zigzag. So if you've enjoyed this classic quilt block tutorial and you want to make more, then check out my other traditional quilt block tutorials on my channel. And I'd love to have you subscribe and sew along with me. Let me know in the comments below how you plan to use your Jacob ladder blocks. Thank you so much for watching with me today, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye-bye for now.